Millionaire's laugh turned to shock as hidden truth of $1 million balance was revealed. Max Thompson's laughter was infectious, echoing through the streets of Maplewood like a favorite tune. The golden sun draped the town in warmth, as he waved at neighbors with a grin that belonged on a magazine cover. Everyone adored Max, the self-made millionaire whose charity events sparkled with stars and dreams, proving that the American dream was alive and kicking. Yet beneath that charming exterior lay a ticking time bomb: loans, debts, and shadows lurking in the dark corners of his financial world. A block away, Sarah, owner of the Cornerstone Cafe, watched the sparkle fade from her diner window. The coffee pots were cold, and the chairs felt heavier each day. She remembered her father, his hands weathered but strong, firmly insisting that hard work pays off. The air felt thick in the cafe as she reminisced about happier times. Her heart balled up tight in her chest. But eviction loomed like a dark cloud above her, and pride held her prisoner. As the weeks passed, the town fell into an unsettling silence. Businesses shuttered, laughter muted, and whispers filled the air. The corner flower shop, once vibrant with blooms, stood still, and Sarah's diner was no exception. A flicker of resentment ignited within her. Why couldn't she reach out? Didn't Max always preach about the importance of resilience and fighting your battles alone? Unbeknownst to her, Max sat in his luxurious office, the weight of the world crushing him. The words he'd thundered at charity events echoed in his mind, but the reality was starkly different. He'd hidden a bank account, a shadowy realm of debts and illegal gains, flaunting $1 million that had slipped through his grasp in an adrenaline-fueled chase for approval. How could he reconcile this with the integrity he proclaimed? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue as whispers of Max's hidden truth swirled. They transformed admiration into betrayal. The townsfolk who once hailed him suddenly turned, their faces a mix of disbelief and anger. Sarah found herself at a crossroads. Facing eviction, her cafe crumbling like old wallpaper. She debated accepting help. Was self-reliance worth losing everything she'd built? The door of her diner creaked open one dreary afternoon. Max walked in, uncertainty etched on his face. Pastel light from the window danced across the diner table as he met Sarah's gaze. She could sense turmoil swirling around him, and her own heart wavered. Would he finally see her struggles? Or was this just another empty gesture? Just as the fragile threads of their fates seemed to intertwine, a sharp knock on the door sent shivers through the room. A figure loomed outside, their intentions cloaked in darkness. Would this confrontation unearth secrets that shatter this small town's fragile facade? The weight of the moment could either bind them together, or pull them apart forever. The door swung open, and a tall, brooding figure filled the frame, his silhouette casting a long shadow over the diner. The chatter of dishes and the whir of old coffee machines faded into an eerie silence. Max's heart raced. He recognized the man immediately: David Rankin, the town's former mayor and a man with ties far deeper than most people knew. Max Thompson, David said, his voice low and dangerous, echoing off the diner walls. Sarah's breath quickened. She felt the tension in the air like a tightly pulled bowstring. Date, Max began, but the words slipped away, lost in the weight of the moment. I heard about your little secret, David continued, stepping inside and pushing the door shut with a soft thud. $1 million hidden away, while the town suffers. You really thought you could keep that under wraps, huh? Aren't you the one who preaches about honesty? A wave of nausea washed over Max. The golden boy of Maplewood had become just another target, and the glittering reputation he had built was crumbling around him. David, this isn't the time, Max attempted to argue, but the words hung in the air, thick and heavy. Sarah stood frozen, the world around her narrowing down to their exchange. She felt compassion for Max. He wasn't blameless, but there was more to this story. David stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. You can't hide forever. Your past will always catch up with you, no matter how rich you think you are. Soon, everyone will know what kind of man you are. Let us not do this in front of her, Max replied, motioning toward Sarah. But David laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the cafe. Why not? She deserves to know who her philanthropist really is. Enough! Sarah shouted, surprising herself with the force of her voice. Whatever is going on between you two, leave my cafe out of it. Max looked at Sarah, searching her eyes for understanding. What could he say? What could he do to explain the tangled web he decreated? The silence stretched painfully, and his mouth opened as though it could speak the truth, but the right words eluded him. Just then, a soft bell jangled. A woman came in, brisk and determined, a newcomer with an aura of authority that immediately shifted the atmosphere. I'm here to speak with Max Thompson, she announced, scanning the diner with piercing eyes. Max felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this woman was with the investigation agency he had feared would come for him. Or could she be another buyer interested in saving the cafe? Who are you? David demanded. Clara Wells. I need to discuss your finances, Mr. Thompson, she replied smoothly, not backing down from David's glare. The tension in the room crackled. Max's pulse raced as he processed her words. Would she reveal the full extent of his financial mess? Would this meeting be the beginning of the end? Or was there a chance of redemption? David's eyes darted between Max and Clara, his brows furrowing with growing suspicion. You think you can just waltz in here and suddenly, Sarah stepped forward again, her resolve hardening. No more secrets. Let us get everything on the table. Their eyes met in that brief moment, solidarity forming between them. A shared understanding that they both might lose everything. Would this confrontation change the shape of their lives forever? All of Maplewood was on the brink, waiting to see what would unfold next. And in that charged silence, a decision hung in the air, heavy with potential, a choice that could redefine their futures. Would they take the leap together, or let the truth tear them apart? Clara's presence seemed to amplify the tension in the air. Max felt a swirl of fear and hope as he met her unwavering gaze. He wanted to trust her instincts, to believe she could help him navigate through the storm crashing around them. Yet darkness hung around him like a shroud, each accusation from David further tightening its grip. Clara, he finally managed, his voice wavering slightly. What do you know? Clara crossed her arms, her stance firm and confident. I know the books are a mess, and I've been appointed to figure out why. Your financials don't match the town's requests for aid funds. The townsfolk want answers, and it looks like they'll find out soon enough. Max swallowed hard. The impending fallout felt all too real. I wasn't trying to hide anything. I thought I could manage. Manage? David interjected, his voice dripping with disdain. You've been managing your own damn pocketbook at the expense of everyone else. That's what this is about, isn't it? Enough, Sarah interjected again, her voice steady, though her heart raced. This isn't just about money. It's about people, our community. You both need to stop pointing fingers and start talking straight. David scoffed but seemed taken aback by her strength. He took a step back, as if she had caught him off guard. Meanwhile, Clara seized the opportunity to speak directly to Max. Look, Max. You're not the villain everyone thinks you are. But you've made mistakes, and now it's time to own them. We have to address this together if we reach any resolution. Max sensed the weight of her words. He was tired of running from the fallout. He looked at Sarah, whose expression was a mixture of worry and fierce determination. She was right, this conversation couldn't linger in half-truths. David, Max began, his voice steadying as he faced the former mayor. I know you think you have the moral high ground here, but I never meant for any of this to happen. I didn't want money to be the reason people lost faith. I wanted to help Maplewood. Clara raised her eyebrow. Then what's your plan, Max? It sounds like you need to dig in and figure out how you're going to come clean. Max took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the diner as it pulsed with anxious life around them. The whispers of the patrons, the clinking of coffee cups, it all felt starkly real. Their lives woven into the fabric of the town he loved. I have to go to the town council. I can't hide anymore, he said, making the declaration with a newfound resolve. I'll bring this to light. All of it. Not just the money, but the reasons behind it. And then, I'll ask for the community's forgiveness. I just hope they'll listen. David took a step forward, his expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. You can't be serious. You'll tear the town apart. Maybe, Max sighed, feeling the tremor of uncertainty in his stomach. But if I don't try, I'm just feeding the very ghosts that haunt us. And as for you, David, it's time to stop being the shadow I hide from and start being the voice people can trust. The diner filled with an anticipation that buzzed through the air. Clara nodded, her expression approving of Max's choice. But then he glanced over at Sarah, and anxiety tightened his chest. Will you stand with me? Her fierce gaze softened. Always. Just take the lead, and I'll follow. The doors seemed to swirl with possibility. Who would rally behind him? What would have to be sacrificed? A new weight pressed down as each second stretched, a decision looming just outside the door. But before he could think any further, the bell jingled again. Another figure stepped into the diner, something in their posture demanding immediate attention. Max turned, heart hammering, as the new arrival stepped into the diner. It was Mrs. Hawkins, the elderly librarian. Her usual red scarf fluttered around her neck like a flag in the wind, signaling urgency. She looked around the diner, her eyes landing on Max with a wild mix of fear and determination. Max, you need to come with me, she said, raising her voice over the chatter. Her usual calm demeanor was replaced by a frantic energy that immediately drew everyone's attention. What's wrong, Mrs. Hawkins? He replied, slipping into a concern of his own. It's the town council. They're already gathering. They've gotten wind of the discrepancies. If you don't get there now, her voice trailed off, the weight of her words sinking in. Max felt a chill race down his spine. Time was slipping away. And so was his chance at redemption. Without a second thought, he nodded, turning to find Clara and Sarah right behind him. Wait. Clara called out, rushing to catch up. You can't just go without a plan. You need support. If things get ugly, I know, he replied, the knot in his stomach tightening. But I have to face them. I can't let this go any further. As they stepped out into the crisp air, a sense of urgency gripped him. The streets of Maplewood were alive with whispers and worries, panic seeping through the cracks of their peaceful facade. The trio moved quickly, passing familiar shops that seemed to hold their breath as they walked past. With every hurried step, thoughts raced through Max's mind. What if they wouldn't listen? What if the accusations tore apart the very fabric of their community he had tried so hard to protect? He looked at Sarah, whose quiet strength filled him with a sense of purpose. Do you really think they'll forgive me? Max asked, his voice barely above a whisper, as if saying it too loud would shatter the fragile hope he clung to. She met his gaze, her eyes steady and fierce. They need to know the truth, Max. People can surprise you when they understand. Just be honest. When they reached the council chambers, a cluster of townsfolk had already gathered. The electricity in the air was palpable. Max's heart raced, each beat drumming a familiar rhythm of fear and resolve. At the town hall entrance, David stood with arms crossed, a smug look plastered on his face. He observed the approaching trio, eyeing Max with a mix of accusation and triumph. Look who finally decided to show up. Think you can talk your way out of this mess? Max's jaw clenched. There was no turning back now. He could feel Clara's reassuring presence beside him while Sarah stood shoulder to shoulder, ready to stand with him through whatever storm lay ahead. I'm here to talk, Max declared, his voice louder now, cutting through the murmurs of the crowd. Talk. David snorted, stepping closer. What do you have to say that we don't already know? The crowd began to quiet, anticipation hanging thick. Max inhaled deeply, readying himself to unveil the truth that lurked just beneath the surface. About the money and not just the numbers. The weight of the balance, the hidden motives, the real story waited to break free. But just as he gathered his breath to speak, another figure emerged from the shadows of the doorway behind David, causing everyone to turn. It was Owen, the town's accountant, his face pale as he held a file folder tight against his chest, eyes darting nervously around the room. I have something you need to see, Owen stammered, his voice shaking as he stepped forward, breaking the tension even further. Max's heart raced anew. What did Owen know? What truth could shift the tides of this confrontation? As everyone waited, the air thick with anticipation, Max felt a new wave of determination flood through him. Would Owen hold the key to his salvation? Or was he about to unleash even more chaos? Owen's hands trembled as he awkwardly approached the council, the file folder almost slipping through his fingers. The eyes of the townsfolk bore down on him, a sea of skeptical and curious faces waiting for a revelation that could change everything. Max felt a tightening in his chest. What was in that folder? Everyone, please listen, Owen finally said, his voice gaining strength. I've reviewed the town's finances, and things aren't what they seem. The crowd shifted, murmurs rising like a wave, but Owen pressed on. These discrepancies aren't just sloppiness. They point to something far more serious. Someone has been manipulating the accounts. Max felt the blood rush from his head. Could this be happening? Was he about to be exonerated? David's smug expression faltered slightly, and for the first time, he looked uncertain. Who's responsible? David shot back, trying to mask his anxiety with aggression. Owen swallowed hard, glancing at Max, then back to the crowded room. The financial records show unauthorized transactions, deposits money that's unaccounted for. But what's more alarming is that it seems to lead back to someone in this very room. Gasps echoed, and a sensation of electricity crackled through the assembly. Eyes darted from Owen to David, who now stood rigid, the color draining from his once rosy cheeks. Max, didn't he do this? Clara shouted, her loyalty unwavering, shining through the growing tension. You know he has been trying to protect us. Max could feel all the eyes on him, the weight of their judgment and expectation. Suddenly it felt less like standing on trial, and more like being thrust on a stage, the spotlight piercing his skin. If this is true, he said, stepping forward, his voice steady yet urgent, then we need to find out who really did this. It's not just about money, it's about trust. But how can we trust you again after what happened? A voice called from the crowd, its despair cutting through the air like a knife. Max's heart sank at the accusation. I was wrong, I admit that. But I want to fix it. I want our town to heal. I'll show you, Owen said, slapping the folder against his hand, drawing attention back to him. In this folder, I detail every transaction, every discrepancy. But it won't make sense unless we really dig deeper. What do you mean? Sarah asked, her brow furrowed as she leaned in, intrigued. I found links. Documents suggesting that someone was using our funds to cover personal debts. Or worse. It's not just a simple mistake. Owen looked around, desperation creeping into his voice. I need your help to reveal the truth, or this could destroy Maplewood. The air felt heavy, the urgency tangible. Max glanced at Sarah. We have to dig into this. Together. If we can bring the truth to light, then maybe, just maybe, this town can be fixed. What will you tell them? Clara asked, her tone softer now, grounded in reality. That I'll face whatever comes my way. I'll answer to the council. But I can't do it alone. Max took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenge ahead. Are you with me? The silence stretched, uncertainty weaving through the group as they processed the ramifications of what lay ahead. Finally, Sarah nodded, her fierce spirit igniting hope within him. Clara joined in, clenching her fist in support. We're with you, Max, Clara declared, her voice louder than before. As the support surged, a glimmer of reassurance sparked in his heart. But even as they stood united, Max couldn't shake the chilling realization that once they embarked on this quest for the truth, there might be more shadows lurking, not just in their town's finances, but within their own hearts. Okay, Max breathed, his pulse racing with anticipation. Let us uncover the truth before it's too late. And just when they thought the tide might be turning, David stepped forward defiantly, a wicked grin stretching across his face. You think this is over? You're just digging your own grave, Max. I'll make sure you regret this. Max's resolve hardened. They opened a Pandora's box, and now, each step unwound threads that could either bind them closer, or tear them apart completely. As he prepared to confront the impending storm, a single thought echoed in his mind. Would they come out stronger or shatter under the weight of sweat and secrets? There was no turning back now. The council chamber buzzed with a tension that felt palpable, suffocating almost. Max could see the flickers of doubt dance through the crowd's eyes, a mix of fear and anticipation. As David stood there, relishing in the chaos, Max felt a surge of determination. They needed to act, and they needed to act fast. Let us gather the evidence, he declared, glancing at Owen, who nodded quickly in agreement. We'll meet at my place. We can go through the folder, look at every document together. Find out exactly what's going on. Clara stepped forward, her hand firmly gripping his arm. But, Max, what if David tries to interfere? He's not going to sit back and let you do this. Max met her gaze, grateful for her unwavering support. We won't let him. We have to keep this under wraps for now. The fewer people who know, the better. Sarah caught the end of their conversation and chimed in. Agreed. If David is involved in any of this, we can't give him the advantage. The element of surprise is our only weapon. As they formulated a plan, the townsfolk started to disperse, some still whispering in disbelief. Others stood with hardened expressions, the tension clinging to the air like a fog. Each of them would have a choice to make: to trust again, or to remain shackled in the past. As Max, Clara, Sarah, and Owen left the council chamber, the weight of what lay ahead settled on their shoulders. It was one thing to confront the council. It was another to unearth secrets buried deep within their community. Secrets that had the power to uproot their lives. The chill of evening wrapped around them as they made their way to Max's house. The familiar streets felt foreign, shadows stretching across the pavement like warnings. Each turn brought them closer to the truth, but also deeper into uncertainty. Once inside, Owen spread the documents across the dining table, papers spilling out like a chaotic puzzle. Max felt the urge to bury himself in them, to lose himself in the details amidst the fear rising within him. They began poring over the papers, phrases like unaccounted funds and forged signatures leaping off the page with a horrifying clarity. This can't be right, Owen said, his brow furrowed as he squinted at the numbers. Look at this. These discrepancies don't just hit our town's budget. They connect to community projects and personal accounts. Max's stomach twisted. So it's bigger than just financial mismanagement. We're talking about people's lives being affected, trust being shattered. Clara, who had been silent, finally spoke up. But who would do this? Who would betray their own hometown? Something in her voice triggered an uneasy memory. Max glanced at Owen. What if it's someone we know? Someone who had access? The room fell silent, the air becoming thick as everyone considered the implications. This was more than just a betrayal of trust. It was a betrayal of community, friendship, and family. Just then, a knock echoed through the stillness. Max's heart raced. Who could that be? Before he could even take a step toward the door, the handle turned slowly. In walked a figure, silhouetted by the porch light, a familiar frame, casting long shadows across the floor. It was David. Thought you could hide from me, huh? David smirked, his bravado filling the small space. You've got some nerve, Max, digging into things better left alone. Max's heart raced. They had opened Pandora's box, and now it seemed David was ready to take every trick out of his sleeve. What was his next move? Would they face him together? Or would this all come crashing down before they had a chance to reveal the truth? Max stood frozen, the weight of David's presence sweeping through the room. Clara shifted closer to him, her protective stance a small reminder that they weren't alone in this. Owen glanced at Sarah. Hesitation etched on his face, clearly debating their next move. David's eyes glinted with amusement, as if he reveled in their discomfort. You really think you have what it takes to take me down? He continued, taking a deliberate step into the room. I own this town. I've poured money into it, while you lot just complain and sit on the sidelines. Max clenched his fists, anger rising to the surface. You don't own people, David. You may have money, but that doesn't mean you get to decide how they live. David laughed, a sound that was harsh and empty. You're so naive, Max. It's always about the money and power. You think you can expose something that runs deeper than you'll ever understand? Owen took a step forward, voice shaking but steady. We're not scared of you. If you've done something wrong, we'll find a way to prove it. You'll pay for this. Pay? David flicked his wrist dismissively. He leaned closer, his breath mingling with the tension in the room. You're playing a dangerous game here. I can make your lives hell before you even start. Clara's grip on Max's arm tightened. There was a spark of determination in her eyes, matching the adrenaline coursing through Max. You're the one who's in trouble, David. The town deserves to know the truth. You think this is just about the town? David's voice lowered, cold as ice. You really have no idea how far I'll go to protect my interests. You want to reveal a truth? How about I open the door to a few secrets of my own? Max knew that's what David wanted to sow fear and doubt in their hearts. You can try, but we have evidence. Just wait until the council meets again. They'll listen to us. But David's smirk only widened. You still don't get it. Once I'm done with you, no one will trust you, or each other. You'll wish you kept this buried. The air became still. Everyone held their breath, caught in a tableau of defiance against the looming threat in their lives. The walls seemed to close in as unease washed over them. They had to act, and fast, but the stakes had just escalated beyond public embarrassment. What's it going to be, Max? David taunted, leaning back casually, like a predator toying with its prey. Fight me? Or run and hide like your friends will? Max took in a deep breath, his heart hammering against his chest. It was a pivotal moment. We won't hide. This is our home. We'll fight for it. David chuckled softly, shaking his head like he was disappointed in a child. Then let the games begin. With that, he turned on his heel, striding out the door like he owned every inch of the space he'd just invaded. When the door clicked shut behind him, the silence was deafening. Max looked around at his friends, the determination mixed with fear flooding the room. We need a new plan. We can't let him get to us. We have to bring this to light before he pulls any more moves. Clara nodded, her eyes burning with resolve. Owen began to sift through the documents scattered across the table, his voice steady despite the tension. We'll find the connections. We need the council on our side, and if we can expose David, maybe we can dig up everything else he is hiding. Each word felt like a rallying cry, lifting the weight off their shoulders, but the air still crackled with uncertainty. What power did David truly have in this small town? And how willing was he to protect it? As they fell into a frantic discussion, strategizing their next steps, a nagging thought crept in. What if David was already a step ahead? Time was running out, and the stakes had never felt higher. Would the truth be enough to challenge a man like David? Or would it crumble under the weight of their fears? And so they braced themselves, knowing the fight wasn't just for their town, it was for their lives. The clock was ticking, and David was out there, plotting his next move. What would he do next, and how far would they be willing to go to confront him? Max felt a surge of urgency coursing through him. David's words echoed in his mind, twisting like a knife. We have to rally everyone, he said, his voice cutting through the thick silence. People need to know what's happening. Clara was already pulling her phone from her pocket. I'll reach out to Jane. She's got connections. If we can get the right people on our side. Good idea, Owen added, his fingers racing across the keyboard. Let us make a group chat and spread the message. We need as many people as possible at the council meeting. As they brainstormed, Max couldn't shake the feeling that they were racing against time. David had a reputation for playing dirty. He wouldn't sit back and let them expose him without a fight. Do you think he really has something on the council? Clara wondered, a shadow of doubt crossing her face. He has power. That's what matters, Max replied, trying to stave off the creeping fear that threatened to derail their efforts. But we have the truth. That has to count for something. The group split up, hurriedly making calls and sending messages. Max took a moment, leaning against the wall, his mind whirling. He thought about the town, the families, the friendships, and everything that made it home. It was more than just bricks and mortar. It was their lives. David couldn't just take that away. As he focused on their mission, there was a knock at the door. It swung open to reveal Sarah, her expression pale but eyes blazing with determination. I overheard something at the diner. There's a rumor that David's planning a big move soon. Something that could seal the council's loyalty to him. Max's stomach sank. What kind of move? He's bringing in a new development deal, something that'll make him even richer. Gets the townspeople on his side, thinking they'll benefit. But it's all a facade, she said, her voice laced with urgency. Clara frowned, her brow furrowed in thought. So he's trying to buy their trust? Exactly, Sarah confirmed. If people think he's investing in the town, they won't question him. We can't let that happen, Owen interjected, the fire in his eyes returning. We need to act fast. Max rubbed his temples, the pressure of the situation weighing heavily. We need a two-pronged approach. First, we get our evidence ready for the council meeting. Second, we need to expose this development deal before it gets off the ground. Do you have any contacts in the media? Clara asked, her voice rising with hope. If we can get a story out there. Max nodded, a plan forming in his mind. I know a reporter from the local paper who has been looking for a story. If we can provide them with what we have, maybe we can turn the tide publicly. They all exchanged determined glances as if a silent agreement had been forged among them. They couldn't let fear dictate their lives any longer. Let us meet again after dinner at the park, Max said, feeling the weight of leadership settle on his shoulders. We'll finalize our strategy then. As the group dispersed, Max's heart raced with a mix of fear and resolve. They were stepping into a fight against a formidable opponent, but this wasn't just about them. The sun started to set, casting long shadows as darkness began to creep into the town. Would they manage to expose David before he could turn the tide in his favor? Max's eyes hardened with focus. They had to act quickly. They couldn't allow David to dominate this town any longer. He took a deep breath, preparing himself for the storm ahead. But as he turned to leave, a chilling thought gripped him. If David was indeed planning something significant, what might his next move be? Would they be ready when the inevitable confrontation came? Max arrived home, his mind spinning with thoughts of the night to come. Each shadow seemed to whisper warnings. Each creak of the old house echoed his parents' voices, filling the air with doubt. What if they failed? The stakes were high, and he felt the weight of it pressing down on him. He needed to clear his head. After a quick bite to eat, he stepped outside. The night was cool, and a soft breeze rustled the leaves. As he walked the familiar streets, he thought about the people who lived here, their hopes, their struggles. They deserved better than what David was offering. Money couldn't replace integrity, he reminded himself. As he approached the park, a sense of purpose surged within him. Clara was already there, pacing back and forth, her brow furrowed. You're late, she shot out, half excited, half nervous. Sorry, Max replied, catching his breath. Had to gather my thoughts. How's the group looking? Everyone's coming. Jane's on board, and I talked to Mark, he's bringing his cameras. We'll need all the help we can get. Owen arrived next, breathless and holding his phone. Brought the latest dirt on David. He's running some numbers on this development deal, a financial trail that leads straight to him. Do we have proof? Max asked, hope clenching his stomach. Enough to make some noise, Owen replied, his eyes gleaming with determination. But we'll need more than that if we want the council to take us seriously. Then let us make it happen, Clara said, her voice steady and firm. We'll gather evidence and hit them hard in the meeting. As they discussed their plans, Sarah joined them, a determined look on her face. I think I have a way to make sure people pay attention. If we share the story, not just with the local news but on social media, we can reach more people. Max nodded, feeling the shift in energy. Let us create a graphic or video. Something that shows the truth about David, who he really is. And what he is trying to do, Sarah added, her eyes shining. It's time the town hears from us, not him. Their plans solidified. They started mapping out the details, urgency driving their conversations. They dove into the work, fueled by a shared passion and a commitment to their home. The council meeting was only days away, and even the thought of David's deceptive smile made Max's blood boil. Suddenly, a shout broke through their focused conversation. A group of townspeople, unaware of the night's events, approached the park. They seemed jovial, oblivious to the storm brewing around them. Laughter filled the air, bouncing off the trees like a spark of light. Max felt a pang of guilt. These were the same people he was trying to save, but at what cost? We have to be careful about how we present this, he warned, his heart tightening. There's so much at stake. If we don't fight for them, who will? Clara replied fiercely, her convictions radiating. She looked around at the gathered townsfolk, a sense of responsibility in her gaze. If we have to rattle some cages, then so be it. As the laughter tapered off, a chill settled in. Max glanced back at Clara, Owen, and Sarah. They shared a look, all aware of the gravity of their mission. The night felt charged, as if the air itself was waiting for something to happen. Max's resolve hardened. They were in this together, ready to stand against David, no matter the risk. But just then, a familiar voice called out from the crowd, sending a shiver down his spine. "Hey Max. You need to see this." It was Jake, a friend from school, waving a phone in his hand, his expression one of disbelief. Max rushed over, heart racing. What could it be? Was it about David? He felt the world tilt on its axis as Jake's eyes widened, locking on Max's. "You're not going to believe what I just learned." Max watched Jake's expression shift from disbelief to urgency. The night air felt electric, humming with anticipation and dread all at once. "What is it?" Max asked, his heart pounding like a drum. Jake held his phone out, the screen glowing in the dim light of the park. "Look," Jake tapped the screen and turned it towards Max, revealing a video that was already gaining traction online. It featured David Rankin, caught on camera, in a heated exchange with an unidentified individual, his tone laced with frustration and veiled threats. "This guy is playing dirty, and someone caught it all." Max's breath hitched. The video was damning. David, in clear view, was discussing his plans for the development deal, openly admitting it was a way to secure loyalty and silence any dissent. "You can't let them dig too deep," he had argued, his voice toxic with arrogance. "Unbelievable," Clara murmured, peering over Max's shoulder. Owen joined them, disbelief etched on his face. "This could turn the tide. We can use this." With the crowd of townsfolk slow to realize the gravity of the video, Max felt a surge of hope. They could no longer hide behind the curtain of David's lies. "We need to get this out. Fast. If this video gets enough shares, it might just open people's eyes." "Let us gather everyone," Sarah suggested, determination lighting her features. "We need to unite, show them we're stronger together." Max nodded, adrenaline pumping through him. Everyone needs to see what kind of man we're dealing with. As the group made their way, energy sparked around them. The lightness in the atmosphere was almost tangible, the fear washing away, replaced with hope. Even the laughter from the townspeople felt like a fitting backdrop, a promise of community resilience waiting to be ignited. They regrouped in the center of the park, and Max stepped forward, the video still firmly in his grip. "Listen up," he called out, drawing the crowd's attention. Eager heads turned in his direction, curious murmurs filling the air as he steadied himself. "I know many of you have heard whispers about things going on in our town, secrets and shadows lurking behind closed doors. But we can no longer stand idle. We have evidence, real evidence that can reveal our truth." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Max played the video, and gasps turned to murmurs of outrage as David's true nature was exposed. "This man isn't just a businessman. He's manipulating our community for his own gain. He wants to silence dissent and pull us apart." Clara stepped forward, her voice passionate. "But we're not here to cower. We've got each other, and together we can fight back." The crowd hooted and clapped, energy swelling. "This is our home, our future. We need to stand united," Sarah urged, her words like a wildfire, kindling fervor in the gathering. Max felt the promise of transformation, the palpable power of community rising around him. "We need to take this to the council, and we need to do it now. They deserve to know the truth." There were cheers, expressions radiating newfound strength. And just then, a rustle in the back caught Max's eye. It was Owen, his phone buzzing again. "What is it?" Max asked, his voice tremulous with anticipation. "There's a live feed going on. People are starting to ask questions. The town is waking up," he exclaimed, pointing towards his screen. A low murmuring arose, excitement coursing through the crowd like a current. More people were joining in, faces turning towards their fight, each agreement strengthening their bond. Together, they marched through the streets, hand in hand, a united front. Max knew this was the moment. This was the time to put everything on the line for the town he loved. They reached the council meeting's doors, where a group was already assembled, whispers of excitement hanging in the air. Max stared down the path, a mix of anxiety and adrenaline fueling his steps. As they approached, David appeared, his expression shifting as he took in the crowd. They arrived to confront the very man who tried to tear their lives apart. The atmosphere buzzed, rising to a crescendo of resilience. "Time to shine," Max whispered to Clara and the others. When they stepped inside, The air felt charged. "Why are you blocking the door?" David shot, his tone mockingly defensive. Yet Max saw the flicker of concern beneath it. "Because we're here to reclaim Maplewood," Max said, taking a bold step forward. "It's time the truth unraveled, and the town comes together." The council members exchanged glances filled with disbelief, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Dry throat swallowing, Max pushed onward. "We have evidence. And while you may hold power, the heart of this town beats stronger than deceit. We won't stay quiet anymore. Let us see what you've got." David challenged, his bravado wavering. And Max could see the cracks were beginning to show. As the conversation unfolded, the morning sun broke through the horizon, golden rays spilling into the chamber, illuminating the souls ready to change their lives. The air was thick with anticipation and hope. What would happen? Would they succeed in their mission for their town? Would they unveil the hidden truth that would restore their community? The shift was palpable, and once buried within their hearts, a fierce determination ignited. And with that, they plunged into battle, unified and determined, ready to forge a new chapter together. Each step forward meant the beginning of something beautiful, a chance not just for themselves, but for everyone they loved. The journey had brought them here, and they were finally prepared to face whatever came next with unwavering courage together. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now for more exclusive stories. Leave a like to feed the algorithm, and keep our community growing. Comment your reactions and feelings about this epic ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the power of standing together.